Okay, welcome back to the CSA Forex channel. And we are going to be looking at the dollar index, the DXY, with respect to the major currency pairs. And before we dive into the charts, if you remember, if you have been following us for a little while, we always say the first thing to check before you start with the technicals is the fundamentals. Check to find out if there is any high impact news coming out that could affect the market for that day based on the volatility. And today is the 7th of November, Tuesday. And then we only had, based on high impact news, you can see high impact. That's why we have everything as red. Based on the high impact news, we had only the Australian dollar, which came out about 3 hours ago. And this had to do with the interest rates. You can see the rate statement. And based on the forecast at 4.35, when the actual came out at 4:30 a.m., it was what? It was unchanged. But then don't forget, this is the key data, the interest rate. It is always going to provide high impact at the end of the day, high volatility at the end of the day. And if you check on the Australian dollar currency pairs, then you see exactly what we're talking about. So we're just going to quickly flip back to the chart. I'll show you that because we want to fully look into the USD. And of course, for the USD today, you can see we don't have any high impact news. So looking at those for the Australian dollar, you can see if I put the Australian dollar USD here, you can see we had these big candles about 3 hours ago. If you look at like the Euro AUD, you can see what we had here about 3 hours ago, the massive candles based on the Australian dollar, the pounds AUD. You can see the same thing. And if you check other AUD pairs, you'd always see that big candle. Now, assuming you were not checking on the calendar, and that's why we always say check the calendar first of all. You were not checking on the calendar, and then you place the trade on this guy, and you were trying to buy it somewhere around here, and then you didn't use a stop loss, and then probably you went to the washroom or something, and then you got back, and then before you know, the market had already tanked against you. You could have easily crashed your account. And that's why we must always pay attention to the high impact news, because that's what the name is, high impact, meaning that the impact is going to be very high and you do not want to play around with that. Now, going back to our dollar, right? We said we're paying attention to the DXY, to the dollar index. And if you have a look over here, this looks a bit messy, especially from these areas over here where we have some kind of sideways and then some breakouts and so on. And then over here too, we had this area as a form of support here, which later broke out, and then you'll be expecting this area to act as resistance over here, where you can see what's happening. It seems to be breaking it to the other side. Now, truth be told, what I would like to see on this dollar, because I'm going to give you my own directional bias based on what I can see. Remember, we always say trade what you can see and not what you feel, right? So based on this dollar index, I can see an area of interest right over here that I would like the market. You can see here we had like resistance, broken out, and then I would like the dollar index to come back to this area here, and then we look for long positions on the DXY, on the USD, either here or it could come back a bit lower to this point here and then push higher. But basically, the directional bias ultimately for today, Tuesday, 7th of November, is to the upside. And if that's what we have for the USD index to the upside, what do you think we're going to be having for the likes of Euro USD? Remember Euro USD, where you have the USD as the quote, the counter currency. It simply means that if you're looking forward to buying this, you should be looking forward to selling the Euro USD. I'm going to show you on the Euro USD currency pair now. Let's just use this one and look for Euro USD. That should be this. And then we'll put the Euro USD in. Now, based on the Euro USD, you can see is rather similar. I would like to see something around here, or maybe even around here, where we have the price. Don't forget my directional bias for today for the Euro USD is to the downside. But I would like to see a pullback, and then once it pulls back, give us an area of interest somewhere around here, and then we get our entry and then take it further down, right? Now, mind you, I am bearish, I am a short biased as long as this area here is not broken to the upside. And that happens to be 1.0740. Once this is broken to the upside, then of course, clearly the bulls have it. But for now, here's what I would like to see. I would like to see a pullback either to this point or to this point here. And then we look for short opportunities based on our price action trigger. Well, that's basically based on what I normally use to enter the market. It could either be your hammer, and in this case, it could be your bearish hammer or bearish pin bar, which they are practically the same thing. Or it could even be your bearish engulfing. Now, whatever the case might be, all you have to always do is to ensure that when price gets to your area of interest, you wait for that trigger and then don't hesitate as long as the risk to reward ratio is favorable, meaning that it is greater than 1 to 1. Of course, the higher the better. So if your risk is 1 and then your reward is probably like 5 or 10 or 20, of course, the higher the better. And this is what I personally do whenever I want to enter the market. Before I click the buy or sell button, I always make sure that the risk to reward ratio is good to go. So with that said, I want to say thank you. I'm going to be rounding up this video now. So I want to say thank you guys for tuning in, for watching. Of course, if you have any question, feel free to ask. Apart from this Euro USD, apart from this Euro USD, you will notice that for Euro USD, what we're looking forward to selling, if we look at the pounds USD also, this is what I would like to see. I'd like to see a pullback to this area here, right? And then a pullback to this area here where we have some form of support and the support over here. I'd like to see a pullback here, and then we look for our trigger, right? Don't forget directional bias, DB. Directional bias is very key, very, very important. So once you have the directional bias here, it's now for you to wait for price to get there, wait for your reaction, see how the market reacts in that area, and then wait for your trigger. Your trigger are those price action counters that we just mentioned not too long ago. So here for the GBP USD, just like the Euro USD, I would like to look for sell opportunities in the market. And then also for those that do gold, if you trade the precious metal, that's the XAU USD. I'm just going to put that here on the chart. You can see that we're looking at doing what to the dollar here. You're looking at buying the dollar. That means that you're looking at doing what here? You're looking at selling gold. So a pullback to this area will be ideal. Somewhere around here will be ideal for short. And then if you notice, when we look at our area of interest, it's called an area or zone or level and not a price point. We're looking at this entire area. And then if I were to map it using rectangles instead of just the horizontal line, I'll probably map out in this, in this manner, right? Where in this manner, you can clearly see some areas of like resistance, 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 some little support here, support. You can see some support, support, support. So you can clearly see those areas, right? That's why we tend to use rectangles. You see some traders that will use rectangles at the end of the day. So you might be wondering, what is the difference between the rectangle and the horizontal line? Well, really nothing much. Is just for your eyes because you're fine-tuning it at the end of the day. And of course, it doesn't mean that price might not breach this area before even dropping down. So you need to always ensure that your trigger is on point so that you don't get your stop loss hit over here and then you start to call it stop hunting. That is one thing that traders normally say. But then for you to avoid the stop hunting, as quote unquote people call it, I would always say use a buffer, right? Use a buffer for your trading. What do I mean by buffer? Buffer means that if for your stop loss, you're going to use 20 pips as an example, you're going to use 20 pips stop loss. Why not put 5 pips extra or 10 pips extra so that You give that little room for whipsaws, for spread increments and the like, especially during high impact news periods that can easily just take you out and then go down without you. I'm sure some of you must have seen that happen to your trades a couple of times, and then you might be saying to yourself, it seems that the broker is watching me. Trust me, the broker isn't watching you. I have been, I have worked for a few brokers in the past, and trust me, they are not watching you. It is just your own, how will I put it? It's just your own thought process that they're watching you because your trading is not going in your favor, in your direction. But when it goes in your favor, in your direction, then nobody says they are watching you, which baffles me a lot. Okay, so with that said, we have looked at the DXY, we have looked at the dollar with respect to its directional bias. So we're looking forward to buying. And then for the directional bias of buying for this dollar index, it means for Euro USD and the rest, USD should be a sell, pounds USD should be a sell, even gold should be a sell. The likes of the USD JPY, USD CAD, USD Swizzy should be a buy as well. And then we're looking for that pullback before it continues to push in that direction higher. So let's see how today goes. I'll definitely make an update video explaining what happened, right, based on our analysis and so on. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. If you are new to the channel, do what? Hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell. Thank you guys. Do enjoy the rest of the day and goodbye for now. Cheers.